This content is for educational and informational purposes only and is not medical advice, a diagnosis, or treatment.
Welcome to Let's Talk Holistic Hope. I'm your host, Rachelle Wilson, a naturopath and wellness expert. And on this show, we get to the root of chronic illness and nagging symptoms with an enlightening mix of functional medicine, biblical wisdom, and straight-up common sense. Each week, I'll break down the mystery of your fatigue, brain fog, gut drama, weight gain, and hormone chaos, and show you simple ways to heal in body, mind, and spirit. Because God didn't design you to live stuck in survival mode. Grab your lemon water, friend. Let's get into today's episode. Have you noticed how tired everyone is lately? Not the normal kind of tired where you stayed up too late binging Netflix and you just need a good night of sleep. I mean the kind of tired where even small things start feeling like work. For example, answering messages, figuring out what to make for dinner, deciding what you want to do this weekend. The kind of tired where coffee helps, but only a little. I hear people say this all the time. I slept, but I'm still exhausted. Or, I used to have way more energy than this. And what's interesting is that the people saying it are usually the ones doing the most. They're the responsible ones, the helpers. They're the ones holding everything together. So today we're going to talk about fatigue. Not just feeling tired after a long day, but the kind of exhaustion that starts showing up after your body has been under stress for a long time. Last week, we talked about stress and what happens inside the body when life stays intense for too long. So today, we're going to talk about what usually comes next. Because when the body spends too much time in stress mode, one of the most common things people begin to notice is exhaustion. If you've been feeling like this lately, you're definitely not the only one. A lot of people right now are tired in a way that sleep just doesn't seem to fix. You go to bed, and you wake up in the morning, and somehow it still feels like your battery didn't really charge. By the middle of the afternoon, your energy drops off and you start thinking about coffee again. Not because you want it, but because you kind of need it just to keep moving. Even little things can start feeling like work, like replying to messages, or figuring out what to make for dinner, or even deciding what you want to do when the day is over. And sometimes the strange part is that your body feels exhausted while your mind is still running. So you're tired, but it's hard to actually relax. And if that's been happening to you, it doesn't mean that something weird is going on. Very often, it simply means your body has just been under pressure for a while. And after enough time, that pressure begins to show up as fatigue. Your body can push through stress for a season, but it was never designed to live there all the time. So here's something most people don't realize about stress. Your body is actually pretty good at handling it for a while. When life gets intense, though, your body flips into a mode that helps you push through. So you get more alert and you stay focused. Sometimes you even feel like you're running on extra energy. And, really, that's not a bad thing. That response is there to help you deal with hard moments. The problem starts when that mode never really turns off. Because running in stress mode burns through a lot of fuel, and your body only has so much available energy to work with in a day. That energy has to run everything that keeps you functioning. Your brain needs it to think clearly. Your muscles need it to move. And your digestive system needs it to break down your food. Your hormones even depend on it. Your immune system depends on it. Even your ability to stay focused and emotionally steady depends on it. All of those systems are drawing from the same energy supply. Now, when your body moves into fight or flight mode, a big portion of that energy immediately gets redirected towards survival. That response is incredibly helpful if something dangerous is happening and you need to react quickly. Your body is designed to prioritize protection in those moments. But if that stress response stays switched on for long stretches of time, a lot of your available energy keeps getting funneled into that survival system, which means there's simply less left over for everything else your body needs to do. Digestion doesn't run as smoothly. Sleep becomes lighter. Hormones can get thrown off balance, and your brain just starts feeling foggy and your energy drops faster than it used to. And eventually, you reach a point where you feel tired in a way that doesn't disappear after one good night of sleep. Because your body hasn't just been busy, it's been spending energy faster than it's been able to rebuild it. That's why fatigue isn't always about doing too much in a single day. Very often, it's the result of living in a state where your system has been burning through energy for a long time without enough opportunity to fully recharge. And when you look at it through that lens, fatigue starts to make a lot more sense. Your body isn't being difficult. It's just responding to how its energy has been used. And for a while, that system can actually work. Your body can keep that pace going for a season. It can carry you through busy weeks, tough situations, or even times where a lot is being asked of you. But eventually, the bill for that energy shows up. And when it does, it usually looks like exhaustion. That's when people start saying things like, I don't understand why I'm so tired. Or, I used to be able to handle way more than this. For a long time, your body has just been helping you push through. But pushing through still uses energy. And sooner or later, your system needs a chance to recharge. And that's where sleep comes in. Sleep is when your body finally gets the opportunity to repair the wear and tear from your day. So hang with me for a minute because I'm about to give you a really simple biology lesson. When you fall asleep, your body moves through different stages of sleep throughout the night. Some of those stages are where physical repair happens, while others are where your brain resets, processes the day, and even clears out the mental clutter that builds up. The deeper your sleep goes, the more restoration your body actually gets. But this is where modern life often gets in the way. When you stay up too late or your sleep keeps getting shortened, your repair window gets shorter too, and your body only has so much time to do that overnight work. So let's say your body really needs around 7 hours of sleep to stay balanced, but you're only getting 6 hours a night. That might not seem like a big deal at first, and a lot of people just keep moving through their week without thinking much about it. But that missing hour adds up. Over the course of a week, that's about 7 hours of sleep your body didn't get, which is basically one full night's sleep that never happened. Now stretch that out over a year, and you end up with about 52 nights of sleep your body never received, which is almost 2 full months of repair time that your system missed. When you look at it that way, fatigue starts making a lot more sense. Your body hasn't been lazy. It has simply been trying to keep going without enough time to recover because sleep is where that repair actually happens. Your hormones reset during sleep. Your brain clears out waste, and your nervous system finally gets a chance to settle down. When that repair window keeps getting shortened, eventually your body starts feeling it. And one of the most common ways that shows up, you got it, is exhaustion. Now here's something I've noticed over the years. People who end up the most exhausted are almost never the lazy ones. Most of the time, it's the people doing the most, the responsible ones, the ones everybody depends on. You know the kind of person I'm talking about. If something needs to get handled, people look at you. If there's a problem, you're the one figuring it out. And if someone needs help, you're usually the one who shows up. For a long time, you can carry that. You're capable, you're strong, and you know how to push through things, so you just keep going. But after a while, your body starts paying the price for that pace. Even though you can push through stress for a season, your body still needs that time to recover. Another group I see this in all the time are people whose minds never really slow down. Your body might be tired, but your brain keeps going. You're lying in bed thinking about tomorrow and replaying conversations from earlier in the day or trying to solve problems that haven't even happened yet. You know who you are. And that mental loop can keep running for hours. The tricky part is that your body responds to that too. If your brain feels like it needs to stay alert, your body stays alert right along with it. which means that even when you're technically resting, your system never fully settles. And there's another group that tends to run into this as well, the high achievers. You know, the people who are used to getting things done. You set goals, you push yourself, you work hard, and those are great qualities. But high achievers are also very good at ignoring early warning signs. You feel tired, but you tell yourself you'll rest later. Sound familiar? You feel overwhelmed, but push through one more project. Or you keep moving because that's what you've always done. Eventually, though, your body starts asking for a break. Not because you're weak, but because your body was never designed to carry that level of pressure forever. And that's why I say this a lot when I talk to people about fatigue. Most exhausted people aren't lazy. They're usually the ones who have carried a lot for a long time, as I've stated before. And this is where something interesting shows up when you look at both the Bible and the way the body was designed. It's where I think that faith speaks into this conversation in a really practical way. If you go all the way back to the beginning of the Bible, right into the creation story, there's something interesting that happens there. After everything was created, after all the work of forming the world and filling it with life, Scripture tells us that God rested on the seventh day. Now that's kind of interesting when you stop and think about it. When you first hear that, it can seem a little strange. The creator of the universe certainly didn't need to rest because he was tired. God wasn't running out of strength or energy. So that raises an important question. If God didn't need rest, why would he do it? The answer is that he was establishing a rhythm, a pattern for how life was meant to work. From the very beginning, he was showing us that creation was never designed to run nonstop. Work was always meant to be followed by rest, and effort was meant to be followed by recovery. Movement was meant to be followed by restoration. So in other words, rest wasn't an afterthought. It was built into the design from the very start. And if that rhythm was woven into creation itself, it shouldn't surprise us that things start to feel off when we try to live without it. When you read through the Bible, rest shows up over and over again. One of the most well-known moments is when Jesus says, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." When you slow down and really hear that invitation, it's powerful. He isn't saying to come once everything in your life is perfectly figured out. He is saying to come when you're tired, when you're worn down, when you've been carrying more than you were meant to carry by yourself. And that message shows up again when Jesus says something else that people often overlook. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. That's interesting, because the world usually offers temporary relief, like a distraction or a break or a quick escape. But Jesus talks about a kind of peace that actually settles something deeper inside of a person. There's a reason that theme shows up so often in the Bible. Human beings were never designed to live in constant pressure. Just think about the term human beings. It doesn't say human doings. Your body was built to spend most of its time in a calm, stated state where your nervous system feels safe. That's the place where digestion works better, sleep gets deeper, and hormones stay more balanced, and your brain finally gets a chance to recover from the wear and tear of the day. The stress response was designed for emergencies. It's incredibly helpful when something dangerous is happening because it gives your body a burst of energy to deal with the situation quickly. But that state was never meant to stay switched on all the time. When someone lives in that high alert mode day after day, the body starts adapting to it. Your brain begins wiring itself around urgency and pressure instead of calm and peace. And those tiny little nerve branches that help regulate emotions and clear thinking actually start weakening when they're constantly exposed to stress signals. In other words, when your system stays in fight or flight for too long, your brain slowly learns to expect danger instead of rest. That's one of the reasons it becomes harder to concentrate and harder to relax and harder to feel settled even when life finally slows down. Your system has simply been trained to stay on guard, and that's why rest matters so much. Rest isn't just about stopping activity for a while. It's about giving your nervous system enough time in a peaceful state that your brain can start rewiring itself again in the direction it was originally designed to live. A lot of people have slowly drifted into a pace of life where they just keep pushing. We stay up later than we should, finishing things. We wake up already thinking about everything that needs to get done. One responsibility leads to another, and we tell ourselves we'll slow down once life gets less busy. But life rarely slows down on its own, which means the rhythm of rest has to be something we choose. This is where faith changes the conversation, because a lot of us carry life like everything depends on us. We feel responsible for keeping everything moving, solving every problem, and holding things together. But when you live that way long enough, your body stays in a kind of quiet tension. Faith reminds us that we're not the ones holding the entire world together. And this is the part of why the Bible talks about rest so often. It isn't just about taking a break from work. It's about stepping out of the constant pressure of carrying everything by yourself. And when that truth starts sinking in, something really interesting happens inside your body too. Your breathing slows down. Your muscles start softening. Your nervous system begins stepping out of that constant alert state. That's part of why rest is so deeply connected to both faith and health. When your mind begins to trust that you're not carrying everything alone, your body often starts relaxing as well. That will definitely make a difference in how your body feels. And this is usually the point where people ask the obvious question, which is, okay, so what do I actually do about this? Because once you understand why fatigue happens, the next step is figuring out how to help your body come back out of that constant stress mode. The encouraging part is that most of the things that help are actually very simple. Your body responds to patterns, which means it pays attention to the environment you live in every day. So think about this. If most of your day is filled with rushing and pressure, screens, noise, and constant problem solving, your nervous system learns to stay on alert because that's the world it thinks it lives in. But when you begin creating moments that feel slower and calmer, your body starts getting a different message. Something as simple as moving your body can help more than people realize. A short walk outside, stretching for a few minutes, or just getting up and stepping away from what you're doing tells your nervous system that it doesn't have to stay locked in survival mode all day long. Getting outside during the day helps too. Sunlight does something important in your brain that helps reset your internal clock, which makes it easier for your body to wind down later when evening comes. Even the way we end our day plays a bigger role than most people think. When nights are filled with bright screens and constant information, and the habit of trying to solve tomorrow's problems before we fall asleep, the body never really receives the signal that the day is over. Our brains still respond to light the same way they did thousands of years ago. When bright light from phones and screens hits your eyes late at night, your brain reads that like sunlight and delays the release of melatonin, which is the hormone that helps your body wind down for sleep. But when the lights get dimmer, evenings start slowing down a little bit, the pace gets calmer, the phone put away earlier, your nervous system begins shifting toward rest. And for a lot of people, prayer becomes one of the most powerful parts of that shift. Not prayer where you're just repeating the same worries again, but what I mean is prayer where you actually release what you've been carrying all day. When you place those burdens in God's hands instead of carrying them into the night with you, something inside you begins to loosen. Your breathing slows down and your mind quiets, and your body finally receives the message that it doesn't have to stay on guard anymore. None of these things work because they're trendy health ideas. They work because they line up with how your body was designed to live. When your system starts receiving regular signals of safety, like movement, daylight, quiet moments, trust instead of constant pressure, your nervous system slowly shifts back toward the calmer state where real repair can finally happen. And when that happens, energy usually starts returning too. Not all at once and not overnight, but gradually as your body remembers what it feels like to live outside of survival mode. So if you've been feeling really worn down lately, I hope today helped you see that what you're experiencing actually makes sense. Your body has been doing its best to keep up with the pace of life and the pressure you've been carrying. And after a while, it simply starts asking for the recovery it was designed to need. The good news is that when life begins slowing down a little and your system finally gets some room to rest, your body usually knows exactly how to start restoring itself again. Before we wrap up, I want to give you a quick preview of what we're talking about next week, because the next thing that usually shows up after fatigue is something a lot of people don't even realize is connected: brain fog. That feeling where your mind just doesn't seem as clear as it used to be. You forget why you walked into a room, or you lose your train of thought halfway through a sentence, or you read the same paragraph 3 times before it actually sticks. A lot of people start wondering if something is wrong with their memory or if they're just getting older. But most of the time, it's actually your brain responding to the same stress and same exhaustion we talked about today. So next week, we're going to unpack what's really happening inside your brain when that fog shows up, and why it happens so often when you've been under pressure for a long time, and what you can start doing to get that mental clarity back. And one last thing before we finish today. I want to take a quiet moment and pray with you. God, I lift up the person listening right now who feels completely worn down. You see everything they've been carrying, the pressure that they've been under, and the pace they've been trying to keep up with. I pray that tonight you would bring real peace to their mind and to their body. Help them release the things they've been holding so tightly, and remind them that they were never meant to carry everything on their own. Restore their energy, Lord. Calm their thoughts and guide them back into the rhythm of rest that you designed them to live in. In the mighty name of King Jesus, amen. Now, I want to invite you to do something simple. Take a quiet moment sometime today and just ask God this question. God, where in my life do you want me to slow down and just trust you more? And then just listen. Sometimes the first step toward real rest isn't doing more. It's letting go of something you've been trying to carry all by yourself. If this episode encouraged you today, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next conversation. And if you know someone who's been running exhausted lately, share this episode with them. It might be exactly what they need to hear. You can also connect with me online at www.therenewedhope.com or send me an email at letstalk@theholistichopepodcast.com. You can also find other ways to connect with me in the show notes. I would love to hear from you. Until next time, keep choosing hope, keep trusting Jesus, and keep healing from the inside out. Ooh, that was good. Thanks for hanging with me today. If this episode brought you clarity or hope, would you do me a quick favor? Take 30 seconds to share it with a friend. Leave a 5-star rating or write a short review. It helps this show reach more people who need real answers too. Want to keep the conversation going? Come hang out with me on Facebook at Renewed Hope Holistic Health. The link's in the show notes. Or better yet, let's talk. Book a free 15-minute discovery call and let's see how I can support your health journey, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. Until next time, keep your faith strong, your gut happy, and your hope holistic.